Hello, and welcome to the Power of Up, your weekly boost of hope, perspective, and positivity. In a world that often pulls us down, this show is all about rising above. Hi, I'm your host, Chris Kellogg, and today we're tackling a topic that many of us grapple with in silence: obsessive thoughts. You probably know the feeling, right? A thought, often a negative and anxious one, gets stuck on a loop in your head. It plays over and over and over in there, consuming your energy, stealing your focus, and sometimes making it hard just to be. It could be a worry about something you said, a fear about the future, or an endless replay of a past mistake. These obsessive thoughts can feel like a mental trap, and they can significantly impact our mental health and well-being. But here is the good news. You don't have to be a prisoner of your own mind. In the next few minutes, we're going to talk about practical, actionable strategies to help you break free from these thought loops and cultivate a healthier and more peaceful mind. We'll cover everything from simple mindfulness techniques to cognitive reframing, and I promise these aren't just feel-good platitudes. They're tools you can start using today. So let's dive in. The first step to stopping obsessive thoughts is to understand what's happening. Think of your brain like a muscle. When you're constantly feeding it the same worried or anxious thought, you're essentially strengthening that neural pathway. And the more you think about it, the easier it becomes for your brain to go there. Our goal is to create new pathways and weaken the old, unhelpful ones. The most fundamental tool in this process is mindfulness. Now, before you start to roll your eyes and think, oh, another podcast telling me to meditate, now hear me out. Mindfulness isn't about clearing your mind of all thoughts. That's a myth. It's about learning to observe your thoughts without getting tangled up in them. So the next time an obsessive thought pops up, I want you to try this simple exercise. Don't fight it. Don't push it away, because the more you try to push it away, the more you're going to think of it, right? Instead, simply label it. You can say to yourself, there's a worrisome thought, or that's a past mistake thought. By naming it, you're creating a little bit of space between you and the thought. And you're no longer the thought. You're the observer of the thought. It's a small but incredibly powerful shift. Now, once you've observed the thought, the next step is to anchor yourself in the present moment. Obsessive thoughts are almost always rooted in the past or the future, in regret or anxiety of what's to come. The present moment is your sanctuary. Now, one of the most effective ways to do this is to engage your senses. We've talked about this before on the podcast. This is a classic grounding technique. And right now, as you're listening, can you feel the chair or the bed that you're sitting on? Can you hear the sounds around you? Maybe the hum of a refrigerator or the chirping of a bird outside. What do you smell? Can you feel the texture of your clothes? Really think about it. This simple act of bringing your attention to your body and surroundings pulls your mind out of the abstract, looping thought and into the concrete, immediate reality. It interrupts the cycle. I recommend practicing this a few times a day, even when you're not having obsessive thoughts, so it becomes a well-practiced tool for when you need it the most. And let's move on to our next strategy, challenging the thought itself. Obsessive thoughts often feel like undeniable truths, don't they? But they're often just stories our minds are telling us, just stories. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, gives us great framework for this. So ask yourself these questions about that thought. Is the thought 100% true? What is the evidence for this thought? What is the evidence against it? Is there more balanced or a more helpful way of looking at this situation? For example, if your obsessive thought is, I'm going to fail at this presentation, the evidence for it might be that you're nervous. The evidence against it might be that you've been prepared for it. You've practiced, and you've done similar things successfully in the past. A more balanced perspective could be, I am feeling nervous, but I'm prepared, and I'll do the best I can. Now, this isn't about positive thinking in a superficial way. It's about a rational, realistic thinking. It's about dismantling the irrational narrative that your obsessive thoughts are building. Another powerful technique is what some people call thought scheduling. This might sound a little strange, but it can be incredibly effective. Instead of trying to suppress the thought the moment it appears, you give it a specific time to be heard. When an obsessive thought comes up, you acknowledge it and say, okay, I hear you, and I'm going to think about you this evening at 7 o'clock. Then you actively redirect your attention to what you're doing, and at 7 o'clock, you can sit down with a journal and give yourself a few minutes to write it down or to think about a specific worry. This does two things. First, it prevents the thought from hijacking your entire day, and often by the time 7 o'clock rolls around, the thought has lost some of its power. You might even find that you don't even need to write it down. And finally, let's talk about the importance of action. Sometimes our obsessive thoughts are rooted in feelings of powerlessness. Taking even a small positive action can help you regain a sense of control. If your obsessive thought is about a messy house, instead of just thinking about it, get up and start to clean a small area. If it's about a difficult conversation, send a text to get the conversation started off. Action, even small action, creates forward momentum and breaks the stagnant loop of rumination. Remember, this is a practical, not one-time fix. There's going to be days where it's harder than others, so be patient and compassionate with yourself. The goal isn't to never have an obsessive thought again. That's impossible. It's to change your relationship with those thoughts. So we've covered a lot today. Mindfulness, learning to label and observe thoughts without getting caught up in them, anchoring ourselves in the present moment through our senses, questioning the validity of that thought, giving the thought a specific time and place might work as well, and countering feelings of powerlessness with forward momentum. Look, I encourage you to pick up just one of these techniques and try it out this week. See what works for you. Your mind is a garden, and it's up to you to decide what you are going to cultivate. And thanks so much for joining me today. Hopefully, you'll be able to reconnect with that amazing life with joy, purpose, and possibility. Whether you're navigating through tough times or just need a lift, the power of UP is here to remind you there's always a way forward and up.